Hello everybody, nice to meet you. Our read was Genesis chapter 3:7. Let's read it together. Jacob lived in the land where his father had stayed, the land of Canaan. This is the account of Jacob. Joseph, a young man of 17, was tending the flock with his brothers, the sons of Phirah and the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives, and he brought their father a bad report about them. Now Israel loved Joseph more than any of his other sons, because he had been born to him in his old age, and he made richly ornamented robe for him. When his brothers saw that their father loved him more than any of them, they hated him and could not speak a kind word to him. Joseph had a dream, and when he told it his brothers, they hated him all the more. He said to them, "Listen to this dream I had. We were pounding sheaves of grain out of the fields when suddenly my sheep rose and stood up night, while your sheep scattered around mine and bowed down to it." His brothers said to him, "Do you intend to reign over us? Will you actually rule us?" And they hated him all the more because of his dream and what he had said. Then he had another dream, and he told it to his brothers. "Listen," he said, "I have another dream, and this time the sun and moon, the 11 stars, were bowing down to me." When he told his father was as well as his brothers, his father rebuked him and said, "What is this dream you had? Will your mother and I and your mothers actually come and bow down to the ground before you?" His brothers were jealous of him, but his father kept the matter in mind. Now his brothers had gone to graze their father's flock near Shechem. And Israel said to Joseph, "As you know, your brothers are grazing the flock near Shechem. Come, I'm going to send you to them." "Very well," he replied. So he said to him, "And go and see if all is well with your brothers and with the flocks, and bring word back to me." Then he sent him off from the valley of Hebron. When Joseph arrived at Shechem, a man found him wandering around in the fields and asked him, "What are you looking for?" He replied, "I'm looking for my brothers. Can you tell me where they are grazing their flocks?" "They have moved on from here." The man answered, "I heard them say, 'Let's go to Dothan.'" So Joseph went after his brothers and found them near Dothan. But they saw him in the distance, and before he reached them, they tried to kill him. "Here comes that dreamer," we said it to each other. "Come now, let's kill him and throw him into one of these stones and say that the ferocious animal devoured him. Then we will see what comes of his dreams." When Reuben heard this, "I tried to rescue from their hands. Let's not take his life," he said. "Don't shed my blood. Throw him into his cistern here in the desert, but don't lay hand on him." Reuben said this to rescue him from them and take him back to his father. So when Joseph came to his brothers, they stripped him of his robe and wretched ornamented robe he was wearing. And they took him and threw him into the cistern. Now the cistern was empty. There was no water in it. As they sat down to eat their meal, they looked up and saw a caravan of Ishmaelites coming from Gilead. Their camels were loaded with spices, balm, and myrrh, and they were on their way to take them down to Egypt. Judah said to his brothers, What will we gain if we kill our brother or cover up his blood? Come, let's sell him to the Ishmaelite and not lay our hands on him. After all, he is our brother, our own flesh and blood. His brothers agreed. So when the Midianite merchant came by, his brothers pulled Joseph up out of the cistern and sold him for 20 shekels of silver to the Ishmaelite, who took him to Egypt. When Reuben returned to the cistern and saw that Joseph was not there, he tore his clothes. We went back to this father and said, "The boy isn't there. Where can I turn now?" Then they got Joseph's robe, slaughtered a goat, and dipped the robe in the blood. They took the ornamented robe back to their father and said, "We found this. Examine it to see whether it is your son's robe." He recognized it and said, "It is my son's robe. Some ferocious animal has devoured him. Joseph has surely been torn to pieces." Then Jacob tore his clothes, put on sackcloth, and mourned for his son many days. All his sons and daughters came to comfort to him, but he refused to be comforted. "No," he said, "in mourning I will go down to the grave to my son." So his father wept for him. Meanwhile, the Midianites sold Joseph in Egypt to Potiphar, one of Pharaoh's officials, the captain of the guard. Genesis chapter 37, verses 1 through 36. Thank you.
Hello everybody, nice to meet you. Our reading was we got Genesis chapter 38. Let's read it together. At the time, Judah left his brothers and went down to stay with a man of Adullam named Hira. There Judah met the daughter of a Canaanite man named Shua. Hira married her and reigned with her. She became pregnant and gave birth to a son who was named Er. She conceived again and gave birth to a son and named him Onan. She gave birth to still another son and named him Shelah. It was at Kezib that she gave birth to him. Judah got a wife for Er, his firstborn, and her name was Tamar. But Er, Judah's firstborn, was wicked in the Lord's sight, so the Lord put him to death. Then Judah said to Onan, "Lie with your father's wife and fulfill your duty to her as a brother-in-law to produce offspring for your father." But Onan knew that the offspring would not be his, so whenever he lay with his father's wife, he spilled his semen on the ground to keep from producing offspring for his father. What he did was wicked in the Lord's sight, so he put him to death also. Judah then said to his daughter-in-law Tamar, "Live as your widow in your father's house until my son Shelah grows up, for he saw he may die too, just like his brothers." So Tamar went to live in her father's house. After a long time, Judah's wife, the daughter of Shua, died. When Judah had recovered from his grief, he went up to Timnah to the man who were Shua's sheep, and his friend Hira the Adullamite went with him. When Tamar was told, "Your father-in-law is on his way to Timnah to Shua's sheep," he took over her widow's clothes, covered herself with a veil to disguise herself, and then sat down at the entrance to Enaim, which is on the road to Timnah, for she saw that though Shelah had now grown up, she had not been given to him as his wife. When Judah saw her, he thought she was a prostitute, for she had covered her face. Now realizing that she was his daughter-in-law, he went over to her via Lord's eyes and said, "Come now, let me sleep with you." "And what will you give me to sleep with you?" she asked. "I will send you a young goat from my flock," he said. "Will you give me something as a pledge until you send it?" she asked. He said, "What pledge shall I give you? Your seal and its cord and the staff in your hand." She answered. So gave them to her and slept with her, and she became pregnant by him. After she left, she took off her veil and put on her widow's clothes again. Meanwhile, Judah went to young goats by his friends the Adullamite in order to get his flesh back from the woman, but he did not find her. He asked the man who lived there, "What is the shrine prostitute who was beside the road at the time?" "There hasn't been any shrine prostitute here," they said. So he went back to Judah and said, "I didn't find her beside." The man who lived there said, "There hasn't been any shrine prostitute here." Then Judah said, "Let her keep what she has, or we will become a laughing stock. After all, I did send her this young goat, but you didn't find her." After 3 months later, Judah was told, "Your daughter-in-law, Tamar, is guilty of prostitution, and as a result, she is now pregnant." Judah said, "Bring her out and have her burned to death." As she was being brought out, she sent a message to her father-in-law. "I'm pregnant by the man who wants this," she said. And she added, See if you recognize whose seal and cord and staff these are." Judah recognized them and said, "She is more righteous than I, since I wouldn't give her to my son Shelah." And he did not sleep with her again. When the time came for her to give birth, there were twin boys in her room. As she was giving birth, one of them put out his hands, so the midwife took a scarlet thread and tied it on his wrist and said, This one came out first." But when he drew back his hands, his brother came out, and she said, "So this is how you have broken out?" And he was named Perez. Then his brothers who had the scarlet list on his wrist came out, and he was given the name Judah. Genesis chapter 38, verses 1 through 3. Thank you. Hello everybody, nice to meet you. Our read was about Genesis chapter 39. Let's read it together. Now Joseph had been taken down to Egypt. Potiphar, an Egyptian who was one of Pharaoh's officials, the captain of the guard, brought him from Ishmaelite who had taken him there. The Lord was with Joseph, and he prospered, and he lived in the house of his Egyptian master. When his master saw that the Lord was with him and that the Lord gave him success in everything he did, Joseph found favor in his eyes and became his attendant, for he put him in charge of his household, and he entrusted to his care everything he owned. From the time he put him in charge of his household and of all that he owned, that the Lord blessed the household of the Egyptian because of Joseph. The blessing of the Lord was on everything Potiphar had, both in household and in the field. So he left in Joseph's care everything he had. With Joseph in charge, he did not concern himself with anything except the food he ate. Now Joseph was very built and handsome. And after a while, his master's wife took notice of Joseph and said, "Come to bed with me." For he refused with me in challenge. He told her, my master does not concern himself with anything in the house. Everything he owns he has entrusted to my care. No one is greater in this house than I am. My master had withheld nothing from me except you, because you are his wife. How then could I do such a wicked thing and sin against God? And though she spoke to Joseph day after day, he refused to go to bed with her or even be with her. One day he went into the house to attend to his duties, and none of the household servant was inside. She caught him by his cloak and said, come to bed with me. But he left his cloak in her hand and ran out of the house. When he saw that she had left his cloak in her hand and had run out of the house, she called her household servant. Look, she said to them, this Hebrew has been brought to us to make sport of us. He came in here to slay with me, but I screamed. When he heard me scream for help, he left his cloak beside me and ran out of the house. She kept his cloak beside her until his master came home. Then she told him this story, that Hebrew slave you brought came to me to beg sport of me. But as soon as I screamed for help, he left his cloak beside me and ran out of the house. When his master heard the story, his wife told him, saying, this is how your slave will treat. He burned with anger. Joseph's master took him and put him in prison, the place where his king's prisoners were confined. But while Joseph was still in the prison, the Lord was with him. He showed him kindness and granted him favor in the eyes of the prison warden. So the warden put Joseph in charge of all those who held in the prison, and he was made responsible for all that was done there. The warden paid no attention to anything under Joseph's care, because the Lord was with Joseph and gave him success in whatever he did. Genesis chapter 39, verses 1 through 23. Thank you.